Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of a 5-part series of looking at the sketchbooks for my dissertation. You can take a look at the prior 2 tours. This is chapter 1 where I did an overview of book 1. Then there's also chapter 2 where we looked at, or part 2 where we looked at chapter 2 of my book. This was a black and white book with several themes in it. And today I want to talk a little bit about chapter 3. So for my dissertation, I did a study with about 24 participants in a summer workshop. They were all master's students. So we were doing a field work of painting from the landscape. We were doing a plein air painting, and they worked in their journals for 2 weeks. And then after that, we worked in the classroom. And so what I have over here is some of the evidence that I brought together in my study. We looked at journals. I took copious field notes, and then we had a pre and post instruction survey. So this is some of the evidence those describe those particular items. And then this book is just a representation of the study itself, of those 3 weeks that we were out there in the field. So what I want to talk about is this book. This is an altered book. So I started with a needlepoint and pattern book that I tore most of the pages out. I think nearly all the pages. And you kind of see on the side here where I've tore the pages out to stubs. And then what I did is I glued in watercolor paper and cut it to size. So this is part of my book here. A little bit of just warm up practice for me, some of the field notes that I printed out and wove together. And then this part, I tell what I am focused on in this particular part of the study, which is making meaning, the teaching, and some technical art skills that we practiced in this, this journal. So I really love this page right here. I love the yellow, the black and white stripes. This is a little rubber stamp, or it's actually carved from an eraser, a stamp I did of a self-portrait. A lot of this is about my own field notes, and so there's a lot of introspection in this. On this page right here, this is a piece from a photograph of one of the student journals. I photographed all of them, and I'll show you some examples of those. And then this is an acetone transfer. I printed out one of the pictures I took. I took copious pictures, and then I put it face down and used acetone over the back to rub it onto the page. And then here's some of the field notes and some of the research. Again, this is a self-portrait done on a page of torn paper. And then just an idea of some work that I was obsessed with when I was in my painting journey. So just kind of a self-referential thing. So a lot of this is me talking about participant and active student learning. These are my glasses. All right, and this sort of represents the deep dive I did into my research and my field notes and the journals and all that. This is a little painting of my classroom that I used. So we were out in the field for 2 weeks, then we came back in and worked for an additional week in the studio from our journals. So they had all this source material to work from. And then I've got some photographs that I used for a basis to paint. This is one of my participants. We did 2 weeks out in the field, and so a lot of bugs, man. You might be working there and you're sitting out in the grass looking at landscapes, and we might get a bug crawling across the page. So I kind of wanted to pay homage to that. All through this book are text writings, because this is really very much a reflection of my study. And the way that I do this is I'll take like a light pencil and draw myself a few lines, and then kind of use that as a way to make the text travel across the page. Again, more bugs. This is a self-portrait that I cut in paper. Again, it's about my reflection and my field notes. So every day when I drove to our site, I had about a 45-minute drive. I would turn on a voice recorder and record notes about what's going to happen in that day. So this is kind of paying attention to that. Here's an entry from my field notes here. So one of the things that we did, let me kind of move this over, is we did every day we would do a quick share of our journals. So here's an example of one of my participants holding up her journal, saying what she had done that day, and everybody else sort of willing to listen and participate within that piece. So these are some of the field notes that I took while I was there. I made this fold-out page. Here's another image from our study. So one day we went back to the studio and did some color mixing. So one of the things they really had a hard time doing was using a broad enough range of color. And so some of this was the technical aspect of teaching. I had like planned for a couple of hours of this and then back out into the field. But they found this so useful that they really wanted to continue. So I have some examples of that when we had done their color studies. I also have in here in this little pocket is a replica. I took photographs of all of the student journals. And so this one, I recreated a tiny replica of one of the student journals. This is the cover. She's got her pages that she worked in, just to get an idea of what kind of work the students were doing or the participants were doing in these journals. Here's her color studies that she had done. Each of these journals was really unique, but it had a lot of the same elements because we went to the same places together. So those are her little field notes. Again, out in the field, we went to the canal, downtown Indianapolis. Some of her other notes, some of the other park locations where she might set up and take her inspiration. This is one of my participants. I remember this at Garfield Park, which is a wonderful park in Indianapolis, and it has a sunken garden. And she was sitting at the seats above the sunken garden, looking over and doing her landscape. And this is another one of my participants who was at another one of the parks and working with his pieces here. We did do several times, we did a share. So what I would do is I would ask all the participants to throw their sketchbooks in a big pile here, and then we would sit around the table and just pass them around and look at each other's. A lot of the idea of using this sketchbook was to share and see what other people were doing because they got so much inspiration from each other. So this is a quick piece here. This is some black spray paint, white paint. This is a Dr. Pepper. I live on Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper can here. Another participant working from her study and working in her book and doing some work there. Another participant sharing her work. So this is all kind of evidence. And then my job is to sort of weave all these pieces together into a coherent narrative so that we get a feel for what that participant experience was. Here's some more people once we went back to the studio of them working and finishing their books or working on a larger project from those books. Another image, and this is an entry from one of the exit surveys. And so here's one of my participants. And some of the larger themes that popped up. So in this one, it says, when you think of the word sketchbooks, really, the words that come to mind are, and from the study, this is from the exit surveys, this is the words that ranked up highest on there. So this is kind of the study. Right. So in book number 2, we looked at how the study was designed. In book number 1, we talked about the overall aims of the project here. And in the future, I have 2 more books. Book number 4, which talks about the findings. What did we find out from that study? And then book number 5, which kind of pulls the whole study together and says, what are the implications for the field of art education? So another 2 more videos that'll be coming on Tuesdays. Thanks for being here. You can take a look at these. I've created a playlist. So if you're interested in sketchbook tours, and I'm going to have lots more. These are the books with a purpose. And so each of these books has a theme. But a lot of times I just have some fun sketchbooks where I'm just doing experimentation. And I'd like to do maybe some just silent tours or maybe some music tours of those. But for now, I'm working on this series of 5. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. I have a lot of interesting visual art or visual journal videos and some how-tos. And so take a look around at my channel, and I hope to see you back.